playing Sonic X Shadow Generations, and it's really good. It makes me happy, which is very rare as a Sonic fan, so I'm going to give it that. That's really good already. Please buy this game. In all seriousness though, we're going to be talking about Sonic X Shadow Generations, specifically the Shadow part, since everyone already knows how the original Generations is, and if you don't, then why are you here instead of going out to buy and play the game? In terms of gameplay, Shadow plays very much like a hybrid of Frontiers and older Boost games. His controls are very tight, much like Frontier Sonic, but unlike Frontier Sonic where his boost acts like a stamina bar, Shadow's is much more like older Boost games where you need to recover through rings, and it can also destroy enemies, which is something that Frontiers lack. Now, that's not to say that Shadow is just another Sonic clone like in Forces, which was one of the worst things to ever happen to him. No. He's probably the most unique experience any Boost game can provide, and that's thanks to his Doom powers and
Chaos Control!
Chaos Control is back as Shadow's most useful tool, especially when you pair it up with stuff like Doom Blast and Doom Wings. It freezes all enemies in a level, auto-replenishes your boost gauge, and on a really contentious level, it can freeze your in-game timer. A lot of people hate this because you don't get an accurate leaderboard score anymore unless you have an outside timer, and a lot of people love it because it brings a sense of immersion playing as Shadow the Hedgehog, at least for them. I'm in the middle where I like it because, you know, the immersion stuff, but I also don't like it because I don't want to have to do all that extra work just to get like an accurate time. I wish there was a feature where I could just turn it off and on at will. Speaking of Doom powers, those are the gimmicky crews for Shadow Gems that help him differentiate himself from Sonic. We have Doom Spear, Doom Blast, Doom Surf, Doom Morph, and Doom Wings, which is basically just Super Shadow down to the ring. You unlock these throughout the course of the game's story, and from what I can gather, the Doom powers are more organic replacements for Shadow's guns and vehicles. I can get behind that, and I feel like most of them are realized to their full potential. I do have a slight nitpick with how situational they are and how clunky some can be, especially at the beginning. Like Doom Wolf was very hard to figure out without clear instructions, and then Doom Blast can be accidentally chained into its combo attack instead of what you want it to be. The Doom power I have the biggest critique for is Doom Surf, and that's mostly because as an alternative travel method on water, it feels very sluggish because of the looser controls and the lower overall base speed that it has. The second you enter water, you can boost, but then right after that, you're basically just at a light jog compared to the speed of like Shadow when he's actually boosting. That also brings up a problem I have with Hedgehog Engine 2 games and their overall speed, especially when I can compare it right back to back with Generations in the same pack. These games do not feel fast in the way that 3D Boost games did before. Unleashed and Generations feel like you're blitzing through an entire level, meanwhile Shadow Generations and Frontiers feel more like you're just like going really fast but not at the same like breakneck speed that you want to represent Sonic. They're better platformers because of their controls, in my opinion, but on the flip side, they don't capture that same sense of speed that you always want. I hope the next game adjusts this because I think little things like that matter in the long run to crafting a really good 3D Sonic experience, and hopefully they take any of these criticisms into hand in a hypothetical Frontiers 2. Even with that little tangent, I still want to remind you that I think this is one of the strongest 3D Sonic games that we have so far, which is a very good thing. And a part of that is the level design, which we're going to be bringing up right now. The selection we have is very good, and most of it makes sense for Shadow, both in terms of his past and his future with Sunset Heights. The only odd outlier is Chaos Island, which is just there, I guess, for resource saving, but it's not a bad stage. In fact, I think it incorporates the Doom Morph really well, especially when you as a player finally understand that very, very gimmicky traversal method. My only question is, why is there not any Shadow of 5 representation despite it being his title game? We don't have any Final Haunt, no the Doom. Westopolis was kind of never going to come with Radical Highway right there, being interjected into every single stage. But my point is that to make a Shadow side game and exclude every stage from his own title game is pretty funny. Like, the best way I can describe this omission is that it's that one Family Guy meme where they all put their hands together, and then the head leg pirate guy just puts his hand in there too, and then just shoos away like, no, not you. You're not welcome in Shadow of 5. You're not allowed in this game. But actually returning to the level design, we're going to specifically start off with the 3D stages. I think they have a very good amount of openness, and as played out as the phrase is, they incentivize exploration with their alternative pathways. You can go high, you can go low, you can fly over everything with the Doom Wings, and it all feels fun to play because you're overall having a good time just enjoying Shadow Jets. It pleases me, especially because we broke that Forces level design complaint that the initial trailer showed off, and then we got what was essentially some of the best platforming for any Hedgehog 2 engine game. I don't think that there's a better example of this than both acts of Sunset Heights. It's like night and day, especially for the first stage. If you compare it to the reveal, that was all the way back then. It's really good. On top of that, they also all host a specific little Doom section in the Act 1 of stages that set them apart, and or overall really good visual set pieces. These help elevate stages that I think would not be as memorable, like Rail King Act 1, and overall, I like them. They're really good. The 2D stages don't lag behind on this either, and they're probably my favorite of the fully 2D stages in the series for modern Sonic. They're just replayable as the 3D counterparts, have a pretty strong platforming, and they need a lot of quick reaction times, which is what I think should be for 2D stages going forward. Sunset Heights Act 2 is probably the best of them for me, probably taking advantage of almost every Doom power unlocked at the point of the story. Sorry if this sounds like lazing, but it really is like insane how they went from like Sunset Heights of 2017 to Sunset Heights of 2024, where it's got me wanting to actually replay it over and over again. That's like, this was not Sonic Forces. That's all I'm saying. I hate that I keep saying that. Now, we're gonna hit a really dour note here because I'm gonna talk about the soundtrack, and as much as I hate to say it, I think it's kind of only okay. I don't remember much of it because a lot of it was just great Act 1 theme, okay or bad Act 2 theme unless you're once again Sunset Heights or Radical Highway, and then awesome boss theme that just goes like it genuinely baffles me how this exists in the same game as Act 2 of Space Colony Arc, which sounds like hot doo-doo, bro. Like, I'm so serious. How do you make this awesome Black Doom remix and then make whatever was going on with like the Act 2 themes and like a couple of the boss themes being weaker than the originals? Like, Supporting Me had lyrics in the trailer, but miraculously somehow it's missing in the final game, which overall makes it weaker because it doesn't have that kind of like vibe going on anymore. And you know, it's whatever. Soundtrack is like a high C, low B for me. It's not bad, but it's not like super great like maybe in Frontiers, in my opinion. Speaking on bosses, I'm not really sure whether it gauges up from a general standpoint or from a Sonic boss standpoint, because by Sonic's very low boss standards, these things clearly everything, including Frontiers, which was just glorified cinematics. Very cool cinematics, but cinematics nonetheless. but from a general standpoint, they get cleared by like any Kirby game all day, every day, because those are simply more engaging and less forgiving experiences at their prime, at their best. This is not saying they're bad, by the way. I just think that they're too forgiving. The only way to have a single bit of struggle is if you're on the hard mode where one hit kills you. That's a patchwork fix at best and doesn't feel like real difficulty. It's just an artificial spike up. My best example of this is with Metal Overlord and Black Doom. Those are not bosses. Those are levels with boss bars attached because they basically play like anything else. You're more so fighting the obstacles than you're actually fighting a boss in the case of like Mephiles or BioLizard, which are better because of that. I wish this wasn't the case because I do like all the interactions Shadow has with them. That makes them much better in my opinion, and it heightens them overall, especially since all of them tie back in thematically. But I kind of want some substance in the gameplay to go with the substance that's in the story and interactions. But we're not there yet. And while I am a bit disappointed, it's okay. I still like it, but we can do better. Now, on to the actual story of Shadow Gens. I don't really have much to say. It's okay. There's not much to chew on, but that's only because this is a really fucking short hit, and I don't know what I or anyone else was expecting there. The actual meaning of the story you are presented inside the game isn't really all something to be blown away by, minus the final scene where Shadow has to accept that Maria and Gerald are truly gone. That's a good part, but the overall outline is blah blah blah. Shadow finds Black Doom, chases him, Time Eater happens, Doom powers appear, Maria and Gerald are back, and he wants to save them. That's the bare minimum I'm gonna give because that's really what covers most of the important things here. It's really not much, which once again I don't mind, but I'm just not gonna say it's super remarkable on its own. With the supplementary material added though, I think it enhances the overall experience. Gerald's diary and dark beginnings are what make this a better story. Without them, I would not be half as interested in this thing as I was before. I think the supplementary material makes Gerald a much more tragic character when you realize that despite his ego being the size of Eggman's, he was actually a well-meaning person, even if he delved into like very shady things with a alien overlord. It also enhances Shadow's pain because now you have information on who these people were before, and it shows why he loved them so much. He did homework, he got to spend time with them. Generally speaking, he got to talk about his dreams and such. And on topic of Maria, I'm actually surprised that they gave her a lot of stuff. She feels lonely. She was abandoned by her parents essentially because they had another child they could actually focus on, leading to her just not being the center of the world anymore because she's not in their world anymore. That's very sad. That makes me feel sad because why would you do that as a parent to your own child? Consciously or unconsciously, you are cutting them out, and that sucks. It also makes Gerald's connection with her much stronger because he's essentially a stand-in for her parents now. They're just not going to be in there anymore. So when she dies, his fall from sanity hits much harder. He lost what was essentially another one of his children. It also just makes the story a little bit more disappointing because Gerald and Maria don't have as much of an active role as I would have preferred them to in terms of like, discussing things with Shadow being in his corner. But that's okay. It's very short. I didn't expect anything groundbreaking. Black Doom, on the other hand, is the highlight of all character interactions in Shadow Generations. His dynamic with Shadow of being a warlord who thinks that he's superior in every single way to what he calls his ultimate creation, because he comes from the blood of him, is very fun. He wants to mentally torment Shadow by bringing back Radical Highway at every single opportunity in the stages, and he wants to physically torment him by gifting him these agonizing Doom powers that look like they're just tearing him apart from the inside out. That's good. That's great. On top of that, his interactions by taunting him elsewhere and everywhere are just great. He wants to lay out to Shadow that the situation is hopeless, but Shadow's going to fight against that because Shadow, in a way, represents hope. He is a direct foil to Shadow, and that's good. My only gripe is the fact that he's dead, because now we don't have a villain that ties back thematically as deeply as he did, leaving us once again with only Eggman, who only really ties into Sonic on that deep of a level, in my opinion. And then that leaves Shadow and Silver with essentially nothing, which kind of sucks because I feel like those three are the pillars of like grandiose Sonic characters that you can have. So yeah, that was all I really want to talk about regarding Shadow Gems. It's one of those deals where every pitfall is eclipsed by something that brings me a much greater joy, ultimately creating what I consider an awesome looking 9 out of 10 experience.
Ultimate victory!
If you agree, disagree, or are in the middle, let me know. I love hearing different perspectives and experiences on things that I like or dislike, so I can hopefully manage a much more informed opinion. If you want to hear what else I gotta say, then go check out my Twitter on my Blue Sky, where I post Sonic fan art and just ramble about everything. That's about it. This was Null. Have a great day, everyone.